All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And yes, this will be my last update until Superman gets released. I will be back tonight with my review of Superman. And I promise you, I will be going into the movie as a blank slate. But the movie did get released yesterday for the red carpet premiere, and the embargo lifted on the reviews, and they are mixed at best. Some critics really love it, but some think it's okay, and there's others that hate it. And we're going to talk about, amongst everything, what this means for the film in today's video. And James Gunn came out and basically sabotaged the movie the other day by talking about making the movie political. And then when he gets asked about it on the red carpet, he runs in the other direction, which is ridiculous. But let's take a look at the screen grabs that I've had since my last video. I really wanted to put up a video yesterday, but did not have the time. So let's take a look. First up, they did come out and say that Superman's pre-tickets have, the sales have slowed for the tickets. And they're looking at around a $100 million opening for this weekend, which would be terrible for Superman. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm finally glad the movie is coming out so we can see what this weekend is going to be like. But I don't think this movie is going to do as well as the studio is hoping for. But James Gunn actually made some comments to basically, they're making excuses already. Let's put it that way. Now, this was really crazy because last week, this new Megan 2.0 film bombed at the box office. And Blumhouse came out, the boss came out, and compared it to Superman. And it says, we decided to genre swap. The audience was not ready to swap. People wanted more Megan, just like she is, says Blumhouse boss Jason Blum. Or Bloom, maybe it's Bloom, I don't know, about the disastrous launch of Megan 2.0. And so they thought Megan was like Superman and was going to carry them through. And what a ridiculous comment. It's just weird that anybody would want to compare themselves to Superman when making a comparison like this, because they don't even know how well the film is going to do yet. Also, the rumors were true about Jimmy Olsen. And you could see here lots of photos of women, and it's pretty crazy. It looks like he's doing some research. They've got all of the whole gang is there. Lois looks a little perturbed in this photo, to be honest with you. But she seems to be perturbed and angry at somebody in every clip and every photo that is released. Also, Pom Klementieff is reportedly being eyed to play Huntress in an upcoming DC Studios series set in Korea. The deal is currently in place. Now, this would be a huge mistake. First of all, Huntress it seems to be a pretty tall person in the comic books, and she's pretty small. And she looks nothing like this character. I don't know. Again, this would just be... All you're going to realize after Superman comes out is that James Gunn does bastardize every character. It was confirmed from Superman in some of the reviews that Superman is beat up a lot in the movie Superman. That he's not a manly Superman. He's beat up all the time, and he's just a do-gooder. And it's a shame that they're basically emasculating Superman. So DC Film News reported that James Gunn is teasing a mysterious project involving Superman, and even David Corinwick has no clue what it is. If I had to guess, World's Finest. If this movie does well, I think that is going to be the next movie that they announce that will come out between this and when Batman gets released, if it ever does. It's all going to be dependent on how well Superman does. But again, James Gunn is now talking about how this movie doesn't need to do well at the box office, which is ridiculous. And we'll take a look at that in today's video. So Variety says that James Gunn's Superman is silly. Yeah, there were a couple of people who broke the embargo on the review, and they were both negative. All right, and this came from Variety. This is pretty crazy. This is James Gunn throwing a grenade at the audience. And this is the dumbest thing you could possibly do on the eve of the release of a big profile film like this. It's suicide when it comes to movies. And I can't believe he actually did this. James Gunn says Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. This comes directly from James Gunn, guys. This is out of his mouth with Variety. And you want to talk about throwing a bomb at the audience right before the film gets released. If this movie doesn't do well, they're going to start blaming the alt-right. It's going to happen. Because what they don't realize is that with this last election, more people voted to have the border secure, and then you're going to come out and make the Superman movie about politics? Really? And you don't think you're going to anger 50% of the population? This has got to be the dumbest move I've ever seen a CEO do on the eve of the release of a film. Also, they released the first look at the Steelbook for Superman. Unless this movie ends up being amazing, I have absolutely zero interest in this. But people might be interested in this, so look for this to go on sale probably after the first weekend. So probably by Monday or Tuesday of next week is my guess when this will actually go up for sale. And Steelbooks do sell out pretty quickly, so if people are interested in this, you're going to want to be on top of it. Here's more from James Gunn in regards to his Variety article. James Gunn says Superman encompasses the story of America and is about a man searching for a better life away from his original home. I mean, Superman is the story of America, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. But for me, it's mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we have lost. Now again, James Gunn comes out and makes a ridiculous statement. James Gunn says it's nonsense to think Superman will flop if it doesn't make $700 million. It doesn't need to be as big as people are saying. In what world does he live in? I'd like to know what business school he went to. This movie, just to break even. And I'm basing this off of their supposed $250 million budget plus $200 on marketing. They have to make $700 million just to break even. But their line of thinking is if you get enough people interested in this, it's going to propel the rest of the DCU. Well, if this movie doesn't do well, it means people weren't interested in it. Period. And it's stupid. There's no business that sets out to say we're going to take a loss on this just to hope that the future is going to be better. That's not how it works. You have to sell the product. And if you can't get people interested and it doesn't make the money, people don't care. Now, I thought this was funny. This is at the last minute. David Corinwick comes out and praises Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder's version of Superman for exploring a darker side of the character. Just like Nolan took Batman and did something darker and more grounded with the character, Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill explored a side of Superman that hasn't been explored on the big screen. The only way they became boring is if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so what he's basically saying is their film is going to be the exact opposite of this. And one of the reviews literally said at least Superman isn't boring. And in this review that I read, they didn't care for the film all that much. They said the film was a mess narratively, that it had kind of some wonky, CGI. But hey, at least the movie wasn't boring. That was their review. No joke. More information on Chapter 1 of the DCU. It says it will explore the number of metahumans on Earth and the government's response to them. However, it won't be the central theme, which will be disclosed later alongside with the primary antagonists. And so it looks like Superman is just a way to launch this universe. And it's pretty universal. I mean, you look at the characters just in this shot, this movie is overstuffed with characters, and people have said Superman is not in the movie enough. So Scott Mensels came out and did his review yesterday, and this is part of what he said. James Gunn's Superman feels like he tossed every Superman comic in his entire filmography into a blender and hit puree. Corinwick's solid, Brosnahan's great, and Holt is doing something, not exactly sure what. It is a mess narratively and tonally, but hey, at least it's refreshingly fun, entertaining, and not boring. Think of it as James Gunn's Suicide Squad had a baby with James Wan's Aquaman with a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy sprinkled on top. What a weird review. They're admitting that this film really isn't that good, but hey, at least it's not boring. This just amazes me what people are saying. All right, guys, so I'm over here on Twitter, and I wanted to show you what Peter Howell said about Superman. He says, Superman, not the superstar to the DC Universe everybody had hoped for. James Gunn is brilliant at conjuring spectacle and creating alien realms, not so great at storytelling. David Corinwick plays a boyishly sweet Superman, constantly getting his ass kicked. He'd be better as the lead in the Dudley Do-Right movie. Rachel Brosnahan makes a spiky Lois Lane. Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is more obnoxious than villainous. The real star of the show is Superdog Krypto, who steals every scene he's in. I'd rather see a movie about him. Yikes. Someone you could see, well, it's refreshing to see an actual honest review from a real critic. That's pretty freaking crazy, guys. This is pretty much what I've predicted from the get-go. So this person on YouTube posted a review of Superman, and he came out and said that Superman is not going to be for everybody, that there is way too much comedy in it. And he doesn't mind comedy, but he said this film had way too much, and he would have toned it down. And he wishes Superman would have been in it more. And that the whole Justice Gang is goofy, that every time they're on screen it's funny, and that Mr. Terrific is freaking hilarious. When has Mr. Terrific ever been hilarious? He's definitely not hilarious in the comic. That is for dang sure. Again, James Gunn bastardizes every character he gets his hands on. Last night, before the reviews came out, I posted PSA, critics are going to love Superman just like they did The Flash. It means nothing, and it doesn't. Somebody posted, it's safe to call Superman the Love and Thunder version of Man of Steel. And this is actually from a frame of the film. And I don't know if they're going to say that Krypto was pulling on his boot or not, but this is really weird because in this particular scene where this happens, his foot looks normal until he turns it to the side, and then it looks like this, which is weird Looney Tunes stuff. So here's the video where James Gunn started talking about politics after the Variety article. He gets asked about it on the red carpet, and James Gunn responds to MAGA backlash over calling Superman an immigrant. I think this movie's about kindness, which everyone can relate to. So he kind of laughs it off and then walks away. Like he started the fire and then he runs away from it. It's the most bizarre thing ever. And then his brother came out and said, if you don't agree with it, you're not American. This is what these people are saying on the red carpet. But it goes beyond that because Nathan Fillion was asked the same question. It's from this same reviewer. Like he was instigating this. Again, it's from Variety. Variety latched onto this. This is some PR stunt that the studio wanted to do. This is something they wanted to do for the film, and it's all coming from Variety. And he kept asking the same question to everybody who came on the red carpet. He asked it to James Gunn, he asked it of his brother, and he asked it of Nathan Fillion. And Nathan Fillion basically smirked and said, guys, it's just a movie. And I was like, maybe you should tell your director that rather than throwing out political statements before a high-profile movie gets released. Because again, they're making excuses. If this fails, they're already making excuses and laying the groundwork to blame certain people. All right, guys, so we are on the eve of Superman getting released. I get to go to the fan showing tonight, and as soon as I get back, it will be late tonight because I probably won't get home until 10 o'clock Pacific time. So you're going to want to look for my review in the morning if you are not going to be up for that review. And I promise you guys, I will be 100% honest. But if it's full of comedy, I'm not going to be having it. I'm just warning you guys now. And it sounds like this is full of comedy. And James Gunn promised it wouldn't be a comedy. He promised it wouldn't be like Guardians of the Galaxy. So many reviews this morning said that they liken it to Guardians of the Galaxy. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, but with DC characters. Everything we feared was going to happen, making it a joke, making it silly, turning it into Guardians of the Galaxy. All the things James Gunn said wasn't going to happen, happened. That's what it appears to be. But I will see the film tonight. Even though I'm not excited to see it, I'm actually looking forward to going so we can get this whole chapter out of the way and look forward to the future. All right, guys, I do appreciate the support. We will see you on the next video.